Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome aboard the C.L. Bryant Show. I am C.L. Bryant, and we are streaming live throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. Yeah, land of the free, home of the brave, home sweet home. Proud to be one, an American. Yes, I am. Coming up on the show tonight will be Diamond and Silk here in the next segment. They have this video that's viral on Meryl Streep. Going to talk to her about that and the Hollywood elite. And all of you know what I think about them. Larry Taunton will be coming up as well. And then later on the show, State Senator John Milkovich will be my guest as well. So stay tuned. Get a fully packed show for you. I want to welcome aboard our friends in southern Arkansas, East Texas, and throughout the Gulf Coast of these United States, and to our friends in Wilmington, North Carolina, who have welcomed us into the WLTT family 1180. Want to thank you for that. All of our sponsors, thank you for being there. Now, tomorrow night, President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, will give his farewell address to the American people tomorrow night. Folks, I got to tell you, I think he's probably going to be the most bitter ex-president in American history. And it's going to be odd. So odd. It's going to be so odd because he's probably the most historical president in American history. Historical but bitter. Bitter but why? Because everything that he attempted to do, including the revamping, the repealing, however it's going to shake out, of his signature legislation, his signature piece as president, looks like it is in the crosshairs of those who he lost to. Well, not him. Well, he did. Hillary. He couldn't pull her across the finish line. He couldn't pull her across the finish line. So he lost to, and he pulled out all the stops. In fact, he campaigned the last couple of weeks harder for her than I think he ever campaigned for himself. So I think he's going to be kind of bitter when he leaves the White House here in just about 13 days. He's going to be kind of bitter because other than being the first black president of the United States, it's going to be kind of hard to point to anything that will stick. It's going to be kind of hard. Now, in Orlando, Florida, a cop, a fallen officer. Her name was Deborah Clayton. She was married, son in college. She was the master sergeant there on her squad, on the police force. Pardon me. Shot down by a criminal who quite possibly had killed his girlfriend as well. They're still looking for him. And any one of you who might be listening throughout the fruited plains, you know anything about a Marquise Lloyd? You know where he is? Turn him in. Turn him in. Police are looking for him. He needs to be turned in. She was a black female cop, of course. Black lives do matter. Yeah. I don't see him out in the street. Not when this black mother, this black cop, servant of the people, has been killed by a criminal in the line of duty, known to be one who gave a lot of time and effort to her community because she wanted to see it be better, killed. I don't see any of them marching over this. I guess her black life as a cop somehow is compromised because of it. And listen, folks, that's another reason why I think there's going to be bitterness here, because there is an era of law and order that is going to be, I really believe it's going to be restored. in our nation in not too many days hence. I tell you something else we need to send a message to those Iranians. We need to do what Ronald Reagan did to Muammar Gaddafi when he was making a lot of noise. We need to send a missile up, over there. Yeah, they're buzzing. They're trying to intimidate. And under this administration, it is intimidation. I want our nation to get back to a point where nobody dares do that to us, because the rules of engagement are you don't mess with us. And we back it up with the rules of engagement. 17 dead in Israel. Or not 17 dead, 17 injured in Israel, 4 dead after a vehicle is driven into a crowd. That's becoming worldwide popular. Be careful where you're walking. That's all I got to say. Just be careful where you're walking until we can restore the order that evidently is being lost in this country. Because, my friends, it has been lost over the last 8 years. But it must be restored, because there is a level of crazy going on in this country right now, around the world, that we cannot sustain as a civilized society. In civilized society, I guess I should say. I'm looking at those of us who depend on pharmaceuticals as well, because you have this fellow Barry Caton, who was the owner of a pharmaceutical company, who back in 2012, he's going to court now over this. He very well could get life in prison for murdering 24 people that they're actually accusing him of, but 64 people actually died because of mold-tainted steroids. It's a state of being dazed and confused. Those pharmaceutical companies have to toe the line on this, because they can take us all out if we don't keep an eye on them. That's part of the news. Going to be back with some Hollywood craziness when I return with Diamond and Silk in just a minute. CL back with you on this Monday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier. And, of course, we're streaming live throughout the nation, greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. All of you folks in southern Arkansas, East Texas, and throughout the Gulf Coast region, we want to welcome you aboard, and our friends in Wilmington, North Carolina. Thank you for welcoming us into your neck of the woods there on WLTT 1180. On the line with me now are two ladies who are becoming regulars on the show. Why? Because we like them. We like them a lot, Diamond and Silk. And, hey, ladies, want to welcome you back to the CL Bryant Show. How have you been? Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to you, too. And we've been wonderful.
Glad to hear it. I see that you've been wonderful because you got a video out there that is absolutely killer viral going along out there on Meryl Streep last night after she got up there and had to say what she had to say. Give me your take on why she would show up like that at the Golden Globes.
Because she don't know no better. Because she don't know no better. And you know what? I don't understand why the left, her, the elites, these celebrities, these actors and actors continue to spew rhetoric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, the divide is in the Democratic Party because only a few voted for Hillary Clinton, the rest of them didn't vote.
Yeah.
That's who she should have been talking about or talking to. She don't have to lecture us. She don't have to lecture Donald Trump. Talk to her own group of people that she wanted to get out and vote for old Hillary Clinton.
Have you ladies seen the commercials that these Hollywood elitists have been putting out on the it's as though they are mad with us because we did not go along with their agenda, like we're stupid or something, like we should have listened to them. How did they get to that state of mind? Have we let them think that we are less than they are? Is that what they think?
But what's happening is they have always been able to influence an election. Mm-hmm. They didn't bet on people like Diamond and Silk, and people started coming out the woodwork and saying, you know what? You don't get to run the narrative anymore. We can think for ourselves, and we don't need you influencing anything. And I keep hearing them say Russia hacked the election. No, the only thing that hacked this election was Hillary Clinton's hacking cough. That's who hacked this election. She was hacking all over the place.
Her hacking cough is what... I just love it. As far as that is concerned, ladies, some folks are saying Hillary's going to run again in 4 years. Bernie Sanders is trying to sync up too. Who knows? He may be 90 years old by then, but just the same. I hear he's got a town hall meeting tomorrow night, and he's going to do it in a Tea Party type of way. I thought the Tea Party was villainous to them, but they're imitating the Tea Party now. What's up with that?
But see, people still going to be able to see right through them. People don't see that Bernie Sanders is a sellout. He took $600,000, and he was paid his little $600,000. And you know what? We would say allegedly, but I heard he bought him a sports car and he went and bought him a house. So he's a sellout, and people going to be able to see him for who he is.
I certainly hope so. Now, how is it looking as far as what DJT, that's what I call him. I call him that to his face, by the way. Donald J. Trump. Well, how is it looking? How's he doing so far? He hasn't even become president yet. But I think he's doing a fabulous job of putting a cabinet together.
First of all, let's talk about the cabinet. I don't want another broke nobody running nothing when it comes to these cabinets. That's right. Because all they're going to do is rob Peter to pay Paul. Mm-hmm. Luckily, did nothing get repossessed at that White House. Who's around these broke people running cabinets?
Or the Statue of Liberty.
Yes, but I am so happy that Donald Trump put the right type of people in these cabinets. That's people that have money, people that know money, and know how to manage money. Because I love it.
Because broke people can't teach you how to make money.
They can't teach you how to make money. So I'm so happy about the cabinet pick. I want all of them to make sure that they get confirmed so that his cabinet can start. Right. So we're really excited about all of his cabinet.
You know, Diamond, Silk, you know, I am very, very excited too. Let me tell you why. When I was growing up, I wasn't angry at the rich folks. I wasn't mad at the rich folks. I wanted to be the rich folks. But somehow now in this country, among young people even, they're angry at folks who make money. I think is going to change for the reasons you have just mentioned, is because I think there are people in place now that have made money, know how to make money, know how to handle money, and hold on to it. And so that could be good for inner city black young people, I think. What do you think?
Absolutely.
But the sad thing is that it's the black leaders that have held the black people back when it comes to money because of the mentality that they've instilled in a lot of our black people.
Right.
Like it's something wrong with having
So
money.
having somebody like Donald Trump to come along that's successful, and then putting people in the cabinet that's successful, then that's going to trickle down to the body of people, and that's what we love. That's what we love about that.
Exactly.
And
so we like that. We love his cabinet pick.
And then I would say the dysfunctional relationship, I'll put it like that, that we have had with money over a long period of time. I think if we pay attention, if America pays attention, if black folks, white folks, whoever they are, pay attention, we can get well in this country. I guess the question is, do we really want to get well? Hollywood is saying, the way Hollywood is talking, they don't want us to get well. They want us to remain dependent upon them. Meryl Streep is a great actress. I'll give her that. She's great. But sometimes I think they ought to just act or sing or whatever it is they do and leave this alone.
Absolutely. That's right. They are only put here to entertain us when we're ready to get out of our lives and look at something different. But when we're ready to get rid of them, all we have to do is turn off our TV and they poof, be gone.
That's right.
So they need to stick with their business, stay in their own lane and do their own thing. Entertain, and that's it. Stay out of politics and keep Donald Trump's name. If you're implying anything about him, keep that out of your mouth.
Oh, I love it.
Another thing that we love about Donald Trump is how all of these jobs want to either stay here or they're coming back here to the U.S.
Yeah.
He hasn't even been sworn in yet, and he's done more than I've seen any president do. And I am so excited about that.
Yeah, I heard that Fiat and Fiat Chrysler, they were fixing to leave. But I don't know if you saw this AP article earlier. It was yesterday, this AP article. They were talking about how the Mexican folks down there were disappointed that the Ford plant is not going to be built there, and how they had already planned on getting the jobs and everything in Mexico. But they didn't say anything about the jobs that Ford will be saving and bringing back to America. It seems like Associated Press is more interested in the Mexicans than they are about the Americans. I don't understand that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't either, which is so sad. That's why Donald Trump got elected, because it's time for the American people to be put first.
That's right.
And if the Mexicans are upset, then they need to talk to their leader.
That's right.
They need to fight for those rights in their own streets. Talk to your leader and tell them why they're trying to suppress you and keep people beneath you. And they need to fix it where jobs won't just go over there where people are being paid $1.
Hold that thought right there. Hold that thought right there. I'll be back with Diamond and Silk on the CL Bryant Show. CL. Monday, CL Bryant Show. Throughout the fruited plains of America. And on with me are two of our native daughters, Diamond and Silk. And listen, Diamond, Silk, give us your website. How do we get a hold of your thoughts and all of that type of thing? I got about 4 minutes left here with you, but I need our audience to know that.
Okay, well, to visit our website, go to Diamond and Silk, diamondandsilk.com. Visit our Diamond and Silk store, diamondandsilkstore.com. We are trying to reach 1 million likes on our Facebook page. So make sure you like us on Facebook, Diamond and Silk. Follow us on Twitter, Diamond and Silk. Instagram, Diamond and Silk. Hey, just Google Diamond and Silk and everything's come up.
Google Diamond and Silk and it'll all pop up. Let's help them get 1 million. I am going to, my producer, Michelle, will be getting an address for you. I'm going to send you a copy of my film, the Crystal Dove Award-winning film, Runaway Slave. I'm about to do another film. It's called Red, White, and Black. I want to have you in it. I'll talk to you more about that. Michelle will get all the information. I'll confer with you on that. Once you see it, everybody's in it, from Dr. Thomas Sowell to Andrew Breitbart to Glenn Beck. Everybody's in the show, in the movie. So I'll send you autographed copies of it here. Expect those in the mail in about a week. But now back to you. I want to know where you all are thinking about being, say, in a year from now, 5 years from now. What's the long term? Give me an idea.
Well, I'm going to tell you this here. Now that Donald Trump, he's going to be sworn in on the 20th. We're going to be there at the inauguration.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. But once he's sworn in, we're going to continue to use our voice and our platform to push whatever agenda he's pushing so that we can educate people. So I see us within the first year, 5 years, us educating people, motivating people to live the best life and be the best that they can. We're going to be the uniters of the country. We're going to unite this country, and we're going to do it on a national platform. That's what I see.
Now, my executive producer, Michelle, will be using the 2 tickets that I had. She will be there. She'll be there, and I'm going to see to it that you all hook up. And she'll be at the inauguration as well, along with whoever her invite. She's taking somebody along with her. But just the same, and I'll be just coming off tour, what I call the Content of Character tour, there on the East Coast, kicking it off on MLK birthday. But just the same, I really want to have the meeting of the minds here, because I really like your approach. I like your courage, and I like your message as far as self-reliance. We must become self-reliant as a people in this country. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's about time. We have to have responsibility, and we have to start taking some accountability for our lives. We're going to have to, Black, white, Hispanic, Asians, whoever you are, we can no longer live as if we don't have a clue. Our eyes have been opened from the stupor, because we've been asleep too long. Now our eyes are open. Now it's time for us to move our lives along where we're successful, prosperous, and doing the things that we desire to do.
And start thinking outside of the black box.
Wow.
It's time for us to do that.
Start thinking outside of the black box. I like it. Oh, I like that. Hey, you gonna hear that again. You gonna hear that again, because I like that.
Yes, because black people have been stuck in the black box for so long. It's like a bucket of crabs. If you think outside of the box, you get criticized, ostracized, and darn near traumatized for thinking outside of the black box. But thank God that Diamond and Silk thought outside of the black box, and we thought for ourselves on this particular matter, and look at where we're at right now for thinking outside of the black box.
I like it. I like it, folks. Diamond and Silk. Google Diamond and Silk, and you can go to every aspect of how to get in touch with them. I'm certainly going to hook up. And listen, I certainly do appreciate you being on the show with me. Michelle will be in touch with you here within the next 24 hours in order to make sure that we get the hookup done. God bless you. God keep you. And we'll see you real soon. Diamond and Silk, folks, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having us.
Have a great one.
Now, I'm CL. We're going to be back here in just a little bit after this. I want to talk to you about this, because see, stop thinking, and this is for the liberals as well. Liberals have used black folks, and I've said it over and over and over, but now that the age of Obama is over, there is an opportunity to truly start thinking outside of the black box without being ostracized the way you were. I was, Diamond and Silk was, Deneen Borelli and others like us, Star Parker, Alveda King, Herman Cain, case in point, Alan West, and those who were Tea Partiers. Oh, yeah, grassroots folks. Ostracized for what? For telling the truth about what was going on, for telling the truth about what was happening. You can follow me at RevCLBryant, at RevCLBryant on Twitter, and go to our Facebook page and like us on Facebook. We just got it up, The C.L. Bryant Show on Facebook. And folks, I certainly want to mention this. I'm going to be on with Larry Taunton when we return, but I certainly want to mention this. There are nuts everywhere. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more on the other side of Larry Taunton. So you stick around, because I want to talk about nuts who are being allowed to stay out on the streets, even though their relatives, friends know they're nuts. Hey, when we look at Fort Lauderdale, there were many people who knew, and I said I was never going to mention his name again, and I'm not, that the shooter in the airport at Fort Lauderdale in Hollywood International, they knew he was nuts. We're going to talk about that just a few blocks later. I'm CL. Be right back.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Welcome back. We're headed toward the finish of the first hour here of the C.L. Bryant Show. And we're just on with Diamond and Silk, and I got to tell you something. If you're not encouraged when they are on, think outside of that black box they told you to do, and you got to do that. On the line with me now is my friend. He is author, columnist, and the executive director of Fixed Point Foundation, headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama. Was just there with him a couple of months ago, and look forward to our relationship expanding into all types of horizons. Welcome, Larry Taunton, back to the C.L. Bryant Show. Happy New Year, Larry, and thank you so much for being there.
Roll Tide.
Oh, please, Larry, please. You had to go there. You had to go there. I'm doing really good, my friend. How are you?
Hey, I just got to say to you, CL, this shows you how much I love you, that I am doing this interview during the pregame of Alabama going for, what is it now? I forget.
Oh, my goodness. You do know this.
Or something, national championships.
But, Larry, this is the thing. This is the thing most people don't know, but I know this. He has sold his soul to the devil.
Well, one of the best tweets I've seen, CL, said this. SEC fans generally root for other SEC teams. And somebody tweeted out, rooting for Alabama because they're in the SEC is like rooting for Satan because he's in the Bible.
This is true, and Louisianians feel that way about Nick Saban. Larry,
no, they don't. I've forgotten that.
Let me ask you about this, because see, he changed our whole worldview too. But I want to talk to you about worldview, Larry. You of course affect a lot of the worldview, and of course you're a defender of the faith as far as our Christian our religious liberty is concerned, not only here but throughout the world. And I certainly do appreciate the work that you do across the globe. When we talk about, and folks, Larry is the author of a book called The Faith of Christopher Hitchens, who was a renowned atheist. And one of the things that we talk about on this show as well, Larry, is worldview. Do you see the worldview of America, even under the success and the victory of the Republican Party? Do you see the worldview overall throughout the world? Do you see it changing? Do you see it shifting? If so, how so?
Boy, do I ever, CL. My first book, and if I were to die, I would consider my first book to be my more important legacy, even though it didn't sell nearly as well, is a book called The Grace Effect. And what I mean by that term, I'm making a statement about an observable phenomenon, and that is this, that life is demonstrably better where authentic Christianity flourishes. And that statement arises out of a question that I ask myself many times, both as a historian and as somebody who travels around the world and engages in cultural issues as you do. If we believe that human nature is the same the world over, and of course every sensible person does, how do we count for the fact that life is generally speaking, there's a greater respect for civil liberties, the sanctity of human life, these things in Western culture? Historically, it is in rapid decline, and I think you would agree with me on that. How can we account for that versus, say, in Soviet Russia, or in North Korea, or in just about anywhere, Africa or Asia? Well, I think the answer to that is to say that the West has been gentled by the gospel, by the presence of the gospel, and a Judeo-Christian worldview. It's given rise to our laws. It's given rise to our arts. It's given rise to science. It's given rise to democracy. These things that have flourished in the West and have yet to really take root in many other parts of the world. And as Christianity is in decline and is increasingly under attack in the West, I think we are seeing a corresponding decline of a worldview that has sustained freedom in the West as we know it.
Christianity is in decline, certainly in Europe. There's no question about that.
Correct.
Some of the great cathedrals over there are now museums, Larry.
That's all they are. Yep.
And let me ask you this then. In the wake of that decline, we do see yet the darkness even here in America. That kidnapping up there in Chicago of that young man who was mentally challenged. You know, I was saying to the audience, Larry, that those people who kidnapped him, if they were back in the 1860s, they would have been doing the same things to a human being that the Klan did to blacks in the 20s and even in the 1800s. You hit the nail on the head when you said it's a human condition. It had nothing to do with skin color.
Yeah.
That was a human condition that caused that type of thing.
Absolutely. CL, my nature, your nature, the nature of other ethnicities, our natures are not different. Now, there are things that serve to restrain our darker impulses or exacerbate them. If you're a racist, regardless of your skin color, that's going to be something that exacerbates that darker nature that you have. If you are an atheist, it may be something that exacerbates it, meaning logically speaking, there's no reason why you shouldn't do it precisely as you want to do because you don't believe you stand to be judged in the next life for your actions in this one, and so forth. And so the Christian worldview has, generally speaking, served to restrain our darker impulses. It doesn't make us, perfect people, but it tends to make us less evil than we would otherwise be. And in those parts of the world where there is a complete absence of that, then there is an absence of what I call the grace effect, this kind of transformation of society. And instead, when you see, for instance, the flourishing of something like communism or its opposite, fascism, things of that nature, these are things that exacerbate. Islam, again, is something that it is a religion that is man-made, and by that I mean by male.
Yeah.
It is a religion of violence and of being able to treat women however you want to treat them, and it's a religion that exacerbates the darker impulses of man.
When we come back, I'm going to continue with Larry Taunton, who is the executive director of Fixed Point Foundation. And we want, of course, to give him an opportunity to tell us how to get a hold of his literature, his thoughts, and his schedule as well. And, of course, I'm sure Larry would be happy to come to a town hall or near you with his incredible message on what we can do to preserve our faith, not only in God, but to restore it in humanity. I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm CL. CL, your native son, back with you on this Monday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, broadcasting from the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. We're on with author, columnist, friend of mine, and the executive director of Fixed Point Foundation there in Birmingham, Alabama. Larry, tell the folks how to get a hold of your books and how to get in touch with Fixed Point.
Surely. The Grace Effect, the book I was referring to in the previous segment, and The Faith of Christopher Hitchens, which, by the way, since I've seen you, CL, if you'll permit me to say this, the Gospel Coalition just named it Book of the Year.
Way to go, man.
Just thrilled. Yeah, I was just thrilled to bits with that. It's such an honor, an unexpected honor. But the Faith of Christopher Hitchens, those are available at most any bookstore, Amazon. You can find them there. You can also go to Larry Alex Taunton. That's TAUNTON.com. LarryAlexTaunton.com.
Way to go, man. Way to go. Now,
thank you, my friend.
You have engaged in debate some of the most renowned atheists in the world. One in particular I want to ask you about, and that is Richard Dawkins. And that is because of something that is known as the God illusion. This is the question that I want you to answer for our audience, Larry. Is it the fact that they don't believe in God, or is that they hate Christians? Because I've never really met anyone who I truly felt did not believe in a divine, or not necessarily divine, but a more powerful or a superior being. Where do they fall as far as atheists?
Sure. In my answer, let me first say that I am, of course, speculating. I've talked with Richard many times and have moderated a number of his debates. I've been in his home. Earlier last year, I was in his home in Oxford, and of course, I know a number of the other new atheists, and so it varies from one to the other. I don't think that Christopher Hitchens, for instance, hated Christians. I think he hated what he deemed to be that which was fraudulent, and he did not like massive power structures, for instance, like the Catholic Church or the Greek Orthodox Church, things of this nature. Dawkins is a little different. Dawkins is, in my opinion, is an ideologue, and my definition of that is somebody who sees ideas as more important than people. And whereas I don't think Hitchens did. So Richard is not a real warm, fuzzy type. He's very guarded. I think he's a true believer in his ideas. If you just follow him on Twitter or you read his book, The God Delusion, this is a man who who very famously said that he deemed religion, Christianity, to be similar to the smallpox virus, meaning that it was something that was deadly but much harder to eradicate. So this goes to show you something of how they see faith. And my own feeling about this, CL, in my own debates and discussions with them, reading their literature, is that I think these are guys who, in fact, a best-selling author just walked through the door who is spent a little time with Dawkins himself. But anyway, I think that these are people who don't understand the engine of Christianity, meaning what they see are rules, they see regulations, they see infrastructure.
But they don't see Christ. They don't see Christ at all.
They don't see Christ. They don't see grace. They don't understand. It's kind of the difference between, if I may make a literary reference, it's sort of, Victor Hugo's Les Mis. It's the difference between Javert and, the
Jean Valjean.
Javert and Jean Valjean, who that both of them believe in God, but one of them sees him as ruthless and hard and law. That's all he sees. And Jean Valjean is a man who's been transformed by grace.
Yeah.
He gets grace. He gets forgiveness.
Well, let me ask you this, Larry. I have about 2.5 minutes left with you. Do you feel that atheists I'm talking about, do you feel that they think that man or humanity is here to serve the state, much as Plato believed, as opposed to Hippocrates. Hippocrates felt that we had that Amagla Dei. Plato felt that man was here to serve the state, and if you didn't have any usefulness to the state, you didn't have any usefulness. Is that
There you go.
in the line of atheism? Is that what it is?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily that the guys that we're talking about fall into that category, but certainly historically, I maintain that communism is socialism is just atheism masquerading as political philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all that it is. And in the socialist model, the socialist worldview, man, a temporal being, serves the eternal state. In the Christian worldview, the state is a temporal institution that is designed to serve a man who is an eternal being. So there's a huge difference there, and I think this is something our young people have to really understand, and they're fawning over people like, say, Bernie Sanders.
Right, and that is well said, because Bernie, believe it or not, Larry, we have not heard the last of
Sadly,
him.
no.
And folks, I want you to go to, give the website again, Larry.
Yes, it's Larry Alex Taunton, TAUNTON, LarryAlexTaunton.com.
LarryAlexTaunton.com. Larry Taunton, I want to thank you so much, my friend, for being on with me. Going to have you on again real soon after the inauguration. I want to do a sort of a postmortem on that and see how the American flavoring is tasting to us after then. But listen, Godspeed to you and your family, and I'll talk to you real soon, man. Looking forward to hooking up with you out on the trail here real soon.
Hey, take care, my friend.
Larry Taunton, Fixed Point Foundation. Folks, go and check him out. Go and check him out on on that website, LarryAlexTaunton.com. Coming up, I want to continue a conversation that I started with you, and later on in the show, we're going to be on with State Senator John Milkovich to see what is on his hot plate. And we want to talk, too, about nuttiness and what to do about folks who are acting out because they are nutty and they feel as though, well, you never know. But I want to talk a little bit more about that when I come back to you. And I also want to speak to you about how the 9 cabinet appointments that DJT, Donald J. Trump, has made, the games will begin tomorrow. Yeah. And I also want to talk to you about Associated Press, American newspaper, American, well, it's international, but they seem to be more concerned about the Mexicans losing Ford plant than Americans getting jobs. I want to talk to you about that. I'm CL. Don't go anywhere. Come back with me in a minute. CL, Monday, here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, folks, I do want to talk about nuttiness. I want to talk about crazy here. But first, I want to revisit a topic that I mentioned to you a little bit earlier. Remember the name Barry Caton. Barry Caton. He was a former pharmaceutical CEO, and he's responsible for an outbreak of meningitis back in 2012. He's just now coming to trial, and that's what I'm talking about, speedy, swift, and sometimes when it's something like this that's so convoluted, it takes time to do this. But back in 2012, he's responsible for a meningitis outbreak, and one of the reasons why meningitis broke out over 20 states, killed 64 people, of which 20 of them he is directly charged with their deaths. Don't know if they're going to be able to make that stick. And then 700 more were made ill by mold-tainted steroids. Mold-tainted steroids. Now, it was, and the prosecutor's going to have to prove how it was reckless disregard for life. And I think the hardest part of it is going to be to prove that he intentionally did this. And the way they're going to try and prove that is the profit margin of these pharmaceutical companies, which is outrageous. It is insane how much money pharmaceutical companies make, both off of you and Medicare and the insurance companies. It's insane how much money they make. And I'm not against anyone making plenty of money, not against anyone doing that, but not at the risk of your children's, my health. And that is the problem here. Just imagine for a minute that if you get steroid or you get mold-tainted antibiotics, everyone at one point or another is going to, you're going to require maybe an antibiotic. But what if it's tainted in some way by a pharmaceutical company that is just not concerned about the quality, but just the quantity of what they're selling to you, to a point where they're reckless in the way that product, that pharmaceutical product is delivered to you. That's what they have this guy on. And they also got him on racketeering and a few other RICO charges as well. But I'm telling you, this is something we have to keep our eye on. And the reason we have to keep our eye on this is because when you let pharmaceutical companies run amok without checking them and without sending them a message, folks, they can wipe us out. A pharmaceutical, do you know how many people's on meds in this country? I don't know, but I mean, there's a whole bunch. I don't know the number. I can get the number, but there's a whole bunch. Millions. There's 300 and nearly 50 million of us here in this country. And millions of us are on some type of medication. And the way that medication is administered is something that we must pay attention to. Now, you folks here in the Arklatex, when we talk about crazy and nuttiness, I grew up back in the day when if you said, they took him to Pineville, or she's up in Brentwood, or they're on the 10th floor, everybody would know that you're talking about they went to Happy Dale. They went to the nut house, okay? That's what we used to call it, of course, before you got politically correct. These days, you have situations where mental health definitely needs to be revisited because you're now looking at folks who are in need of treatment, and then you have people who are in imminent danger to society. Now, the problem is this, and I'll open up the phone lines, 320-5335, 318-320-5335. The problem is this. Okay, when a person is in need of treatment, what does that mean? And then you have the other side of that coin where, no, this guy just needs treatment. But then you have this guy who is, they're saying, an imminent danger. An imminent danger to society, me, my children, the dog. I mean, who are they an imminent danger to? And did they become an imminent danger because they needed treatment and didn't get that? Because the way I'm understanding, and any of you mental health professionals out there, you want to give me a call, or if maybe you've been through all this, you want to give me a call. There are people who know that a loved one needs the treatment. You have told folks that they need the treatment, but there's nothing folks can do about it because Democrats have tied the hands, as far as laws are concerned, of folks who would 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they'd have been in Pineville, or they'd have been in Brentwood, or have been on the 10th floor. Not anymore. It's different now. I'm saying all that to say this. The family of the shooter in Fort Lauderdale, they had told folks, including law enforcement, FBI. In fact, the military knew this guy was nuts. They told folks that. The FBI had actually taken his weapon at one point and gave it back to him, I think it was 4 weeks later, and he used that same weapon to kill them folks in the airport. He had been hearing voices that told him that ISIS wanted to communicate with him, and that folks, he was at a whole different level of nuts. He was beyond just needing treatment. He was in imminent danger. I'll be back after the break.
I knew a man, Bojangles, and he danced for you in worn-out shoes.
CL on a Monday here. Seems like the weather's warming up, and that's I guess it's good for just a little bit. Kind of like the cold. And it was cold across the nation. The whole nation was a deep freeze there for a few days. We were talking about, hey, you folks who are in my age bracket, your kids may not know anything about what I'm talking about, but I was saying earlier that if you went to Pineville or if you were up on the 10th floor or you at Brentwood back in the day, something you'd had an episode, a mental episode. And I don't hear much about them. Somebody might be able to tell me. 320-318-3205-335, 318-3205-335. But there's a level of lunacy that is sweeping our country, that has been sweeping our country from the west to the east for many, many years. From Hollywood, it spreads abroad, the nuttiness. That's why we call it the left coast, the land of fruits and nuts. Hollywood. Last night, the Golden Globe Awards were given out, and a fabulous actor, Meryl Streep. I've never met Meryl Streep. I have been a fan of hers, though, since Sophie's Choice and French Lieutenant's Woman. Been a fan of hers for ages. But anyway, she won the Cecil B. DeMille Lifetime Achievement Award, and it went to Meryl Streep. She gets up there, and she says that Hollywood, foreigners, and the press are the most vilified folks in America, to paraphrase. Hollywood, the foreigners, and the press are the most vilified folks in America. Talking about a level of crazy. Now, in that room, collectively, there were several $billion in the room. No question about it. Several $billion in the room. But yet she has the audacity to talk about how they are being vilified. On the line with me is David. David, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind, friend?
Well, CL,
hey,
you and I are about the same age. How you doing?
Doing great, Doc. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. You know, I wanted to throw in one extra. You said the 10th floor and going to Pineville.
Yeah.
You remember we also used the 9th floor.
Yeah.
I'm going to end up on the 9th floor because Shumpert had their psych ward on the 9th floor.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right. Let me ask you this, David. Let me ask you this. What has changed in mental health? Something has changed. It was easier to have somebody who you were suspicious of evaluated. Now it's not so much. Is it or is it? I don't know.
No, you're exactly right. And what's changed is, again, the pendulum has swung so far that we don't, everybody's got so much freedom that, you can't get anybody help. Not a month goes by that somebody will come into my office and describe CL, a family member with a problem, and they want to intervene in some way, and I have to say, well, the law just doesn't provide for that now. The pendulum has swung so far, I guess we could say, to the left.
Wow. Wow. Let me ask you this. So there has to be an actual imminent, they have to exemplify imminent danger or imminent threat to themselves or the family?
Threat to themselves or threat to another. And there's so many people don't exactly meet that criteria, and so therefore a lot of people, let's say, fall through the cracks.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm certainly not saying that I have the answer to this, CL, and I know you say often you don't have the answer to it.
No, of course not.
But, I think we've got to continue the dialogue because a lot of our homeless, a lot of the population that is out there all alone are really mental health issues.
Yeah.
But what we've swung so far, I mean, again, I'm all for freedom, as you know, my friend.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Freedom comes with responsibility.
Yes.
And over the last 30, 40 years, we've swung so far in the name of freedom that literally it is, I don't know what it's like in other states, but in the state of Louisiana, it is extremely hard to intervene on someone that truly needs that help, CL.
And so we wind up with what we saw in Fort Lauderdale. The family, David, had been telling the FBI. The FBI actually had this guy. They had this guy, and they had the gun. But they let him go, and they also gave him back the gun.
I don't understand that, CL. I don't understand that, and it's again, the only thing that I can say is this is a matter of, and we're not talking, we're talking decades of law changes here that need to be talked about. But in terms of mental health, we've got to swing that pendulum back towards the center to be able to give the help to people who need help. I'm not for locking anybody up at all.
Yeah.
I'm for freedom for everyone, but again, with freedom comes responsibility.
Dave McMillan, give everybody the name of your show and when they can tune you in.
It's Sunday mornings right here on this very radio station, News Radio 710 Keel, 101.7 FM. Strategies for Living, 9:05 to 10 Sunday mornings, CL.
It's a great show, folks. It's a great show. Dave, thank you so much for calling in and checking in with me, man. Hey, listen, we'll have you on real soon. Got to have you on.
I'm looking forward to it, CL. You're sounding great.
God bless and keep you. Thank you, man. Yeah, folks, Dr. McMillan has said something that is very, very important, and it's wrapped up in these words. Those people are falling through the cracks. And when we think about this guy, the shooter in Fort Lauderdale International, hey, he fell through and he fell on people. We'll talk a little bit more when I return. I'm CL. Yeah. CL on a Monday. 320-5335, 318-320-5335 is the number to call if you want to talk to me. We're talking about how sometimes the folks who need the help the most are falling through the cracks on the rest of us, and they're manifesting in ways that dangerous, I do believe. Dave McMillan was on with me just a little bit ago saying that the laws have changed now, where actually the freedom of the individual who you might just need, they assume might just need help, doesn't get the help until they have become an imminent threat. On the line with me is Socialist Stephen. Stephen, I knew you would chime in on this for some reason. I don't know why, but thank you for calling, brother. What's on your mind?
Go Merrill, go Merrill, go Merrill.
So you're all in favor of what Meryl Streep had to say.
Oh,
she's a total nut. Oh,
she's
she's a lovely woman. Absolute fan. I'm an absolute fan of Meryl Streep's talent, of her talent, but not her politics.
It wasn't a politics. It was a heart she spoke.
That was politics.
Okay.
Yeah, that was politics. She took a swipe at the whole thing was a swipe at Donald Trump.
Of course it was.
And why was that?
She can't stand him.
Why? Why?
Oh,
actually, he is going to actually help their industry.
You don't need me to go through it, but look, I just came back from New York, so I'm tired.
You must. You're up there in liberal heaven.
Liberal heaven. I walked past Donald Trump's the Trump Tower, and I wanted to go in, but my daughter stopped me. Boy, the young people just don't like this man. Let me tell you.
Oh no, they don't, man.
They do
don't.
not.
Your daughter stopped you from going into Trump Tower because she don't like him. How old's your daughter?
17.
No kidding. So the kids as young as 17 are poisoned. You've poisoned her against Trump, didn't you?
No, I did not. And she was going for the interview at Columbia Law School. So.
Oh my goodness.
At 17.
Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, persuade her to go somewhere else. Persuade her to go somewhere else.
It's expensive up there. I think she's going to go somewhere else.
You do know that when the fascists were run out, when the communists were run out of Germany by Hitler, Hitler didn't mind fascists, but he couldn't stand communists. But he ran.
Sounds like the conservatives.
Well, we'll talk more about that. but he ran them out of Germany, and they wound up in New York. And you know where they went? In fact, on the campus of Columbia right now is a building that is dedicated to fascism, and so that's where they wound up. That's where they came.
Well, Trump went to Harvard, didn't help him much. So.
Well, but I'm not really sure. Does anybody ever see the transcript of Trump's grades? I haven't seen those yet.
I bet they're not good. I can bet you that.
But we haven't seen the transcripts of Obama's
He's only got
grades
a
either.
bachelor in business, so that ain't nothing.
Well, just the same, he's done well though. With that bachelor's, he's done well.
Here's my question for tonight that I just heard.
What you got?
You were talking about a young soldier that went crazy in Fort Lauderdale while I was traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God we got the TSA. I'm spending all this money.
TSA's a joke, man.
Uh-huh. But, this young man that went to Iraq, fought, saw killing, part of all of that, saw 2 people blown up, went crazy, all across the country. So and the fact they gave him his gun back, you don't think the conservatives need to take a little responsibility in the NRA?
No, no. Yeah, no. NRA had nothing to do with checking this guy out.
All this craziness about guns and
that had nothing to do with the gun. It had something to do with the man. You see, the gun did not. You see, now you brought up a really good point right there, so I can make this point.
Well, they should have.
It was not the gun. It was not the gun. It was the nut that had the gun.
This man was telling the FBI that he was hearing voices, and the CIA was making him talk to ISIS.
Exactly. Now, would you give a gun back to somebody like that?
No.
The NRA wouldn't either. Neither would the NRA. The NRA would not give a gun to that guy. So the gun didn't do anything.
You know what happened that kept this gun? You know, we got a news thing from some conservative talk show about how they stole somebody's gun.
Well,
that's what we would have got.
If he had been somebody else, you would have gotten
He
that type of thing.
He doesn't have anything on his record.
No, he doesn't have anything on his record, but his relatives had been telling everybody, including the FBI, that he's crazy.
That's what the other side's been saying. We got to have stricter gun laws. That's what
that had nothing to do with gun laws. It has to do with the liberals changing the nut laws. Are you old enough? Did you grow up here in Shreveport?
Well, how are you going to take his gun from him?
Well, let me ask you this. Did you grow up in Shreveport?
But how are you going to take
No,
his
let
gun
me ask
from
you a
him
question. Did you grow up? Answer the question.
You can do it?
Did you grow up in Shreveport?
No, I did not.
Okay, well then you wouldn't know the answer to the questions that I've just asked about Pineville.
So how are you going to take his gun from him without a gun law that says you can't?
You take his gun from him because evidently the people who listen to me, the people you gotta let me answer your question. Mm-hmm. You ask a question, I gotta answer it. That's a conversation now. The people who know him best brought the suspicion up on him. There's been too many women killed because they had told law enforcement, the man that's stalking me is nuts, and nobody believes them. Nobody believes him until he becomes an imminent threat. And that's what happened with this guy.
Well, this nut walked into the FBI agent to tell them he was nuts.
And so it wasn't the gun laws that really failed. It was the FBI that failed.
The sad part, CL, I have a gut feeling because I've met a couple of them teaching that came from Iraq, that we have a bunch of these young kids out there that saw things that we were never going to see in our life, CL.
Yeah, you're right.
In that war.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Affected them, and we're not doing anything about it.
You liberals have tied our hands to do anything about it. Dr. David McMillan told us about how you all have tied our hands in doing anything about it. Stephen, I got to hear the music, man. I got to go. Thank you so much for your call. I'm CL. We'll be back in a minute.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL, your native son, back with you here on the home stretch of the Monday show. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, America. Also want to thank all of our friends in Wilmington, North Carolina for welcoming us into the family of WLTT 1180 there in Wilmington, North Carolina. On the line with me is somebody I really, really love, and his name is now, he has another title in front of his name. That is State Senator John Milkovich. My friend, welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show.
Pastor, when I drove up to my sister's house in Montana on November 3rd, she had a bear standing in her yard eating apples from the tree. The bear made it clear he was not going into hibernation until November 8th came and he voted for Donald Trump. And our informal polling data showed 100% of the bears in Montana were polling for Donald Trump. I hope no one held their breath waiting for the mainstream media to report that.
Oh, nobody but you have I heard that from, John. And Happy New Year to you, and thank you so much for coming on. John, what is the latest thing that we as Louisianians should be on the lookout for? What's coming down the pike? What are you dealing with down there?
Well, we have ongoing, we have some more budget challenges, and then we have to face the issue that we've faced in every session, and that is, are we going to try to generate revenues or make cuts? And I'm believing that we are going to be able to make some progress by making cuts. Mm-hmm. Have some great ideas that are being passed on to me by our constituents. And
yeah.
Just the direction that I think we need to go.
I had Dodie Horton in studio a couple of days ago, and she was talking about perhaps making some changes to the welfare system, not Medicare, but the welfare system, the way money is dispensed out in that system, and that's not the word I'm looking for, but just the same. Are there going to be budgetary cuts when it comes as far as social programs are concerned? Is that something that the people of Louisiana can look toward?
Listen, the people of Louisiana, my district, and really District 38, that's South and West Caddo Parish, and part of southeastern Shreveport, DeSoto Parish. These are hard-working people, and they're people that believe that that folks should work for what they get, and that has a lot of benefits. I mean, it promotes self-respect, it supports the family structure, it honors Scripture, Paul's admonition that if you don't work, you don't eat. And what I've heard over and over and over when I was campaigning in District 38, people said, look, if somebody needs help, I don't mind helping them, but I don't like people taking advantage of the system. Now, the fact of the matter is the welfare is primarily controlled by Washington, by the federal Congress, and the entitlement programs are primarily run out of Washington. The money comes from Washington, but we need to be speaking to our new Congress and saying, look, we've got to go ahead and promote work, not welfare. Stop paying people that can work but won't work to not work. I think that's clear. In my view, and I think that's the conviction of the people of our district.
I've spoken to a lot of people who are in the know and should be in the know that are concerned that there's so much fraud, sloth, mismanagement that has gone on in the entitlement system, in the welfare system, from Washington to the hands of the state. That's what they're concerned, that you and elected officials like you will not be able to actually get a handle on when something like that gets so out of whack and over a long period of time. The concern is that maybe it's too far out of whack, and what we're doing when we look to you to fix it is that maybe there's not. We have to fix Washington before we can fix the state, which I think is just totally out of whack anyway. What do you think about that?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, why are all there's a disproportionate amount of our revenues going to Washington. The revenue should be kept at the state level, where we're not funneling the money through a gigantic bureaucracy. That is true. And then I guess the challenging question to me as a state legislator, to the approximately 144 legislators with Mike's election, I guess, to Congress, are about 143 right now, is how can the state make a difference in federally run programs? Well, I think one thing that we can do is speak with a unified voice to the president and to the Congress, to the Senate and the House, that look, we do need to focus on work ethic and you know this, Pastor, very well. This is something that you're so insightful about and so close to, and that is, look, number one, we're $20 trillion in debt. You don't have to be a brilliant economist to know that our economy is, we're under a threat of economic collapse anytime the government gets $20 trillion in debt. Number two, and this is the insidious thing, is that when we promote programs that disincentivize family structure, when we pay people to not work, there's a serious moral and cultural deterioration, a moral deterioration of our culture that goes on.
Absolutely, you're right. When I come back, I want to talk to you about the spirit of optimism that I am seeing now here a month and 2 weeks after the election. I want to talk to State Senator John Milkovich about that feeling of optimism and what it truly means, perhaps, into this new year. I'm CL. We'll be right back. CL here in the home stretch. On the line with me is State Senator John Milkovich, and I want to welcome him back to the show. He's always been a friend of the show, been a friend of mine for years now. And John, I certainly do appreciate your friendship down through the years. John, I was wanting, and folks, I want to say this about John. John is a conservative. He is definitely that. I've always said he's an old school conservative type of Democrat. What we knew as conservatives in Louisiana back in the day. That's what John is. He has those values, those principles. So he's a good Democrat. He'd make a great Republican. I had to say that, John. But anyway, okay. I had to say that.
Well, I guess we're Americans. That's why.
There you go. We are that. But now, anyway, we'll have that discussion another time. There's no question about it. But now, I was talking about the spirit of optimism. That before the election, I've had this feeling of, or at least people were telling me that they had this anxiety. In fact, a lot of people were suffering anxiety, and a lot of people now after the election are suffering anxiety.
Yeah.
But just the same, I feel a spirit of optimism now. Is that just me, or do you see that?
Listen, you're absolutely right. This has been a major worldwide war played out on a national and international stage, I believe. People talked about President-elect Trump making some indefensible, inexcusable statements. Look, if they threw everyone out of the Capitol that made indefensible and inexcusable statements, Washington, D.C. would be a ghost town
Ain't that
by
the truth?
noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
But this is the fact. Donald Trump told the truth about the immigration of Muslim terrorists was dangerous and not vetted. He told the truth about shipping our jobs and factories overseas and across our borders. He told the truth about the Clinton Cash Foundation selling out America to foreign countries. He told the truth that the Affordable Care Act is unaffordable. He told us that prior administrations in Washington had toppled the Mideast, turned the Mideast upside down, and toppled stable Mideast governments that protected the Christian population. He told the truth that they created a vacuum for ISIS to spread and commit genocide against Christians. He told about the agenda to take away our Second Amendment rights. He told us told the truth about our government cutting a deal that gave Iran over $1 billion and allowed them to continue building nuclear weapons. He told the truth that the mainstream media is corrupt. And this is what I feel, and this is why I think there's reason for optimism. Is Donald Trump perfect? He is not.
No.
He was. But sometimes you can define a man by who his enemies are. And who are his enemies?
Hollywood.
The mainstream media,
yeah.
Well, you throw in Hollywood, both political parties.
That's true.
Both political parties.
That's true.
He fought both political parties. The people were the only, and the one world globalists. And, there were some rogues and some Christians, some evangelicals. There were some people that value freedom. There were some American First folks. But for the people, he would not be president because the establishment totally against him.
So let me ask you this in light of what you've just said. Now, that leads, I know it leads him to believe this. It leads me to believe this, and I don't know how others may see it. But at what point, or do you think that there is someone who, do you think that the Republicans, the good old boys, as you said, the establishment, do you think that they are a hair trigger away from turning on him, and what very well could be that trigger?
Well, I think the people are going to have to stay on top of their elected representatives to say, this is what we want. We elected this man to bring change. We understand that American freedom, American sovereignty, American independence is under attack by the globalists, by international corporations, by the mainstream media, and we voted him into office to stand up, and he said it beautifully during his campaign, for the forgotten men and women of America. In other words, the people that work for a living. And we had this conversation the other day when I saw you at Word of God Ministries. Great job, Pastor McManus is. And the whole team out there, you're knocking it out of the park, changing our culture. God bless you. In Shreveport, you're changing the culture. But this is what I said.
Glory to God.
What you're doing is so vitally important, Pastor, for the very reason that the mainstream media They were guilty of lies, bias, manipulation, cheating. I mean, they kept telling the American people they lied. They said there was no way he's going to win the election. Their polls were false. They lied. They told their bias was amazing. They ignored the fact that Donald Trump was telling the truth about immigration and exporting our jobs, the Clinton Cash Foundation, the implosion of Affordable Care Act. They ignored that Hillary had a killing unborn babies policy. They ignored the absolute contradiction of her saying, well, we want to take guns away because we want to protect toddlers, and then in the next breath she says, but it's okay for America to continue killing millions of American babies.
Amazing.
Hillary, if you're worried about toddlers, then we're worried about them in the womb. Let's not use that as a phony excuse to take away our weapons so we can't protect ourselves.
John, I got to leave it there, man. And listen, I certainly do appreciate it.
You got me fired up. It's your fault.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'm always intrigued at your conversation, and certainly thank you so much for being there. And we'll have you back right after the inauguration to do it again.
Listen, thank you for the work that you're doing. It's vitally important, folks. Pray for President Trump and pray for C.L. Bryant.
Thank
and
you,
Alex Jones.
God bless you.
God bless you, buddy.
I'll be right back. I'm C.L. Bryant. Yeah, folks, let me tell you, here in these next 10 days, the farewell tour of Barack Hussein Obama, soon to be the former president of the United States, the first black president of the United States, that farewell tour, they're going to show you the power of Hollywood. Now, I'm going to show you the power of Hollywood. Hollywood is going to they're going to dramatize this farewell show. That people are going to be you're going to be thinking that Dorothy's returning to Kansas. In the wizard, and she's saying goodbye to the scarecrow. It's going to be that emotional. You're going to think, oh, Yeller has been something's happened to Yeller. Yeah, it's going to be so emotional. This farewell tour of Barack Obama, and the people who are going to be shedding the tears. This is the oddest thing. The oddest thing is that the people who will be crying the most are the people who have been hurt the most. Maybe there's tears of pain, and finally they can cry. But I got to tell you something. The oddest thing, and I've said this at the very top of the show, really the oddest of the odd, is that Obama's going to leave office. And every time you see him surface, you'll see him smiling because he's got $1 million smile. I've met the president. He's got $1 million smile, and he's going to be a very wealthy man. He'll be on all the talk shows. You'll see him popping up here and there. He's not going to leave Washington, D.C. He's not going to leave the stage. That is for sure. But he's going to be bitter. He's going to be bitter because the things that he thought he's going to put in to solidify socialism in this country are going to be undone. So he's going to be bitter. But he's going to be the most historic president that America has ever had. A bitter but historic ex-president of the United States. I think he might be the bitterest one that has ever left office because, first of all, he wasn't able to fulfill the mission accomplished. His mission was to continue socialism, get Hillary Clinton elected, and then get himself appointed as Secretary General of the UN. Didn't happen. Not going to happen. At least not in the next 4 years. Still could happen if you're not vigilant, as Thomas Jefferson told us to be. Told us that the price of our liberty was eternal vigilance. You showed up vigilant November 8th this past year. You got to remain that way. Well, I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. And I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
For all you sacrificed to keep freedom alive, and to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side, and the bond will never be torn.